issue of The New Yorker. In a moment, we'll talk exclusively to the author of that article. But first, here's NBC's Stephanie Gosk.
There may never be a complete explanation of what drove Adam Lanza to kill himself, his mother, and 26 students and teachers at Sandy Hook Elementary School. But an article in this week's New Yorker magazine probably gets as close as anything ever will. It is the first time Lanza's father, a vice president at General Electric, has ever spoken to the media about the shooting. It's not like I ever go an hour when it doesn't cross my mind, Peter Lanza tells writer Andrew Solomon. He describes his son's unraveling and the pain he now struggles with. How much do I beat up on myself about the fact that he's my son? A lot. As a young boy, Lanza says Adam was definitely different, but still, quote, a normal, weird little kid. As he grew older, the problems grew more visible. Everyday life became almost impossible. The social awkwardness, the uncomfortable anxiety, the awkward walk, reduced eye contact, you could see the changes occurring. After their divorce, Nancy Lanza, Adam's mother, took on the bulk of his care, eventually isolating him from the world and his father. Peter Lanza says he last saw his son 2 years before the shooting. Emails from his ex-wife told him not to visit. Now, more than a year since the killing at Sandy Hook, Lanza wishes his son Adam had never been born. That's not a natural thing when you're thinking about your kid, but God, there's no question. For today, Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
And Andrew Solomon is with us now exclusively. He sat down with Peter Lanza 6 times for that New Yorker article. Andrew, good morning to you.
Pleasure to be here.
I have to tell you, when I read that paragraph where Peter Lanza says he wishes Adam had never been born, it took my breath away. What is his state of mind? How would you describe this man? He must be haunted.
He's haunted. He wishes that he could go back in time and fix what went wrong. He's a kind, decent man, and he's horrified that his own child could have caused this destruction.
Why is he speaking out now? This is somebody who has maintained his privacy and his silence until now.
He said he'd been contacted by so many victims' families, and he said he finally thought his story was an important part of the puzzle and that he had a moral obligation to tell it, that it might help the families or it might help prevent another Newtown.
When something like this happens, inevitably the scrutiny goes to the parents. What did they do? What did they not do? Did they miss signs? Does your article and your interviews, do they shed any light on what was wrong with Adam and what may have caused him to take this unspeakable act?
So Adam had what was then called Asperger's syndrome and would now be autism spectrum disorder. He had a certain amount of autism, and the autism made him, as his father said, very weird. And because they had a diagnosis, it didn't occur to them that anything else was wrong.
I want to be clear here. No one's suggesting that Asperger's or autism caused him to be violent, but Peter seems to believe that perhaps it masked a different diagnosis that should have been noted, perhaps schizophrenia, he says.
Right. Whenever Adam was being strange or peculiar, he thought it was just the Asperger's, and he didn't look past it. But Adam saw a huge number of psychiatrists and psychologists, and none of them detected hints of violence.
What about the fact that Peter Lanza was essentially estranged from Adam in the last 1.5 to 2 years of his life? When he looks at that now, does he feel he should have tried harder to reach his son?
He said he wishes he had tried harder because he said, anything I did differently might have changed the outcome, and the outcome couldn't have been worse or more evil, but at the time I didn't see it.
We learned also that Nancy Lanza, Adam's mother, in fact, wasn't exactly upfront with Peter about the decline of Adam, about how bad things had gotten. What can you tell us about that?
Nancy Lanza was always trying to give Adam a good day, and she didn't think enough about giving him a good life. She dealt with the crises as they came along, and she wasn't open. She was trying to make everyone think everything was okay as her son got worse and worse.
Does Peter Lanza blame his ex-wife?
He very specifically doesn't blame her. He said, I was trying hard, she was trying far harder, she did her best.
A lot of people have looked at her and wondered why is she allowed all those weapons to be in the house when she knew her son had mental illness. Did Peter Lanza know about that, and what does he make of that decision?
You know, Nancy Lanza had grown up a live free or die New Hampshire gal, and she had a sense that guns were a part of everyday life. I don't think guns should be a part of everyday life, but I think they had no sense that Adam was dangerous. They thought he was peculiar, but they never thought he would hurt anyone. And Peter, who taught him to drive, said he was the safest, most cautious, most rule-following person I ever met.
Peter met with a couple of the Newtown families. What did he say about those meetings?
He said they were heartbreaking. He said one of the families had said to him that they were ready to forgive Adam. He said a family that lost their son, their only son. He said, if my trading places with them could ease their pain, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
It's fascinating because this is a family that said they could forgive Adam, but that's something that Peter Lanza says he is not ready to do.
He is not. He said, as the trailer indicated, that he really felt that he wished Adam had never been born, and he said he struggled with coming to that. But what happened was so horrific, he could only wish it away.
Well, Andrew Solomon, it's an extraordinary interview. I really recommend people take a look at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we should mention it's in this week's New Yorker magazine. We'll take a turn now and get a